So there are 4 basic temperament types. So there's the peaceful phlegmatic, there's the perfect melancholy, there's the popular sanguine, and the powerful choleric. Now, the temperaments are divided into 2. So we have the introverts and we have the extroverts. So last week I dealt with the extroverts. Who can tell me what they are? And the choleric. So the popular sanguine and powerful choleric, because they're outgoing people. The sanguine is outgoing. The choleric is goal-oriented. The sanguine is the most versatile of all the temperaments. So they can be anything they want to be. They usually they experience a wide range of emotions. So when they're happy, they're very happy. When they're sad, they're very sad. While the cholerics are the most productive of all temperaments. So I need to say this, there is no bad temperament, okay? There's no bad temperament. The cholerics are very purposeful people. Every temperament has its strengths and its weaknesses. So today, let's talk about the introverts. From this list, who can tell me what the introverts are? Okay, you've made it easy. Okay, so let's start with the peaceful phlegmatic. Okay, basically, they're the most liked and lovable of all the temperaments because they're very easy to get along with. Very, very easy to get along with. Okay. So the phlegmatics are very easygoing people. They're very agreeable, you know, rather than, in fact, their own life, because I gave you a couple of scriptures last week for the life mantra of each temperament. So the sanguine was what? Arise and shine. If I'm not doing it well, arise and arise and shine. And then the cholerics are what? With or without Christ. Okay. So for the phlegmatics, their own scripture is, as much as is possible, be at peace with all men. So they are very easygoing people. They do not like quarrel. They don't like fight. They like peace. They're very, 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 very agreeable people. They have the attitude of, it's no, sir, that causes quarrel. Do you understand? Like, they will never say no. They won't say yes. But what they want to do, they'll go ahead and do it. And they're very accommodating. Okay, so it makes people really like them. Even if a phlegmatic does not agree with you, it's very unlikely that they will raise their voice. Very unlikely. They will most likely be very pleasant about it. I got into a bit of an argument with a phlegmatic today, and it seemed like I was the only one having the argument because I was shouting down the whole building, and he was just going, I understand your predicament, ma. I understand. I feel your pain. And I kept shouting, you can't feel my pain. You cannot. If you're feeling my pain, you'll be moving more than. And he was just going, I'm doing my best. Like, you know, because they're so easygoing and so laid back, they are also they need a lot of external motivation. They need a lot of push. To get a phlegmatic to do anything, you need to push and wind and talk. And funny thing is, most times, if they still don't want to do it, they will not do it. Okay? So they are also very steady workers. They like comfort. Usually, when it comes to, even in clothing, I told you last week that the sanguine likes loud clothing because they like to be noticed. The phlegmatic likes easy comfort, easy life. So they will pick comfort over style when it gets to clothes. So the most comfortable thing is probably what they will pick. It doesn't even have to be fine. As far as it's comfortable, they will think of their comfort first. If a phlegmatic is your friend, they are very loyal people. It's not really dependent on what you do or do not do. They just make up their minds to be your friend, and they stick with you usually through thick or thin. They are usually motivated by helping other people, not by money. Usually, a phlegmatic is not even so driven to move ahead in their career. They're just okay with moving at a pace and just helping other people. As far as everything is working, they're fine. Usually, even if they are driven to get money, it is for them to do something for somebody they love, not necessarily for themselves. They're also very good listeners, and they're very diplomatic. One of the character that exemplifies the phlegmatic temperament for me is Abraham in the Bible. Just looking at his life and his personality, you can see a lot of phlegmatic tendencies. Before I go into that, let me just give you a few of their strengths. They are very steady and reliable. They handle pressure very well, of all the temperaments, because they are very unemotional people. So you can never really tell what a phlegmatic is thinking from their face. So if there's fire on the mountain, like everything literally burning up and scattering, a phlegmatic will just be looking like everything, no emotions. Okay, they're very plain. Their face shows no emotions. You can't tell if they're angry. You can't tell if they're upset. They generally have I don't know if you have friends who you sometimes just want to shake them. Like, shake now, move now, be angry or something. Show some they usually are expressionless. They are very unemotional people. They also lack a sense of urgency. In fact, 2 scriptures came up when we were trying to get their life mantra. One of the scriptures was, "He that believeth shall not make haste." A phlegmatic is never in a hurry. They lack a sense of urgency. If you tell a phlegmatic to hurry, and I think sometimes it's because they live their lives in a way they don't want to bother anybody else. Phlegmatics usually don't even want to make noise when they walk. That's how much peace they like. They don't want to disturb any other person. They don't want you to disturb them. Now, they don't really like change. But they can eventually adapt to it, but they don't like change. They are very dependable, so they can stay doing the same thing over and over and over again. They are also very witty. Very, very witty people. So they are quick to, they have a dry, they are funny, but not, I don't know how to describe it. They are funny, but not ha-ha funny. Like, not the kind of jokes that a sanguine would give you. A phlegmatic would be, maybe all of us are in the room, they'll just drop one line. And everybody will just wonder, who said that? Like, they are very, very, very witty people. They find humor in everything, but they're not loud, so you don't know. But they are very, very witty people. They have very few enemies. Very rare to find phlegmatics that have enemies. They have very few enemies, and they generally like to make people feel very comfortable. Now, some of the things they struggle with, their weaknesses. They hate change. They avoid conflict at all costs. And this sometimes can be a problem. Because when there's a problem, you have to be able to face it head on. A phlegmatic will not. They will rather sit on the fence. I'll give you an example. When Sarah and Abraham planned that they should have a child by Hagar, actually, Sarah came up with the plan. And Abraham, being agreeable, allowed her. Even though he was head of the home, you can see that that's even a phlegmatic trait. He just allowed her to have her way. When Hagar now got pregnant and had the child, she was pregnant. She became disrespectful and very insolent to her boss, to her madam. And Sarah was very upset. And she went, and rightfully so. And she went to Abraham. Being the head of the home, a man should know what to do. He said, "She's your help. Do what you want with her." He just wanted peace. Even though he knew this is the right thing to do, but he didn't want to be in the middle of that quarrel. If you are dating someone, and I'll give you an example, you are married to a phlegmatic husband. If you have problems with your in-laws, most likely you are going to be the middle of it all the time. Because if you go to him and say, "Oh, your sister is giving me this issue," you're probably going to hear something like, "She's my sister, you're my wife, what do you want me to do?" And that's just how phlegmatics are. Because they don't want to take a stand for anything. Okay? They can also be very indecisive. Before a phlegmatic can make up their mind, they would rather be on the fence. Because they don't want to offend anybody. So they will always be in the middle. They are also very stubborn. But because they are very peaceful, because they are very people don't quickly notice that they are stubborn. So a choleric doesn't want to do something, he will be very vocal about it. "I'm not going to do this, and there's nothing you can do about it." But a phlegmatic will not say yes. They will not say no. But the thing they want to do, they will do it. And then it's very hard to get them to do anything. They are chiefs at procrastination. So the thing you will constantly hear a phlegmatic say is, "I will do it later," or I'll do it tomorrow, or I'm getting to it, I'll do it. They always have a plan to do something, and they end up not doing it. Another thing about them is that, now this is a strength, and I want to use the life of Abraham to show you this. They're very peaceful. Let's start from Genesis 13, from verse 7. And it said, quarrels broke out between Abraham's shepherds and Lot's shepherds. The Canaanites and Perizzites were also living on the land at the time. Now, see what had happened. Let me give you a bit of a history to what was going on here. God had called Abraham and said, follow me, leave your father, your kindred, and follow me to a land I will show you. And Abraham took his nephew Lot with him. And so when they kept following God, God started blessing them. Now, God was blessing Abraham, and because of that, because Lot was associated with him, Lot was also getting blessed. Now, they were so blessed that their servants, their cattle, everything grew so much that they couldn't, the land they were in could not contain them anymore. So their servants started quarreling. Now, a normal person, any other temperament, if you carried somebody and the person is blessed because of you, and there's quarrel, what's the normal thing to do? See what Abraham did. So when the quarrel broke out, verse 8. Abraham said to Lot, let's not have fighting between us, between your shepherd and my shepherd. After all, we're family. Verse 9. He says, look around. Isn't there plenty of land? Let's separate. If you go left, I will go right. If you go right, I'll go left. In other words, even though you're younger than me, pick. I don't want problem. You pick. Anything that is left over, I will take. And Lot, not having sense, I don't even know what he is. I've not yet figured out his temperament. He didn't even think deeply. It can't be a male. Because a male would suspect choleric. Maybe. It's possible. Because a melancholy would think. He would think about, he would even be suspicious that his uncle says he should go. There's this man, you pick first. Something didn't matter, you know. But he picked, and unfortunately picked Sodom and Gomorrah because the land looked good and everything, and he went. He didn't allow his uncle, somebody that it's because of him you were blessed. If not that he showed you road, if not that you followed him and were doing apprentice, will you even understand the business we're doing? And you are now blessed. Your husband says, your uncle says speak, and the first thing you did was you looked for the best place. Are you sure it's not sanguine on it? Sanguine is inside. Because they like themselves. You now look for the best place. You didn't even have small humility to say, this man, let me give him respect. No respect is choleric. No respect. It's a clothesam. That's the conclusion. No respect. Now, see what happened. He now got into Sodom and Gomorrah. Some kings now came together and attacked Sodom and Gomorrah. And some of the people they captured was Lot, his family, and all his property. Give me chapter 14 from verse 11. And somebody escaped and went to Abraham. If it's any other temperament, what would the answer be? Let him suffer. His head is not correct. He's speaking before me. But phlegmatics are dependable. If they love you, they love you. They will always have your back. That's the thing about phlegmatics. One of their strengths is that they will always have your back. If you are their person, you are their person. And it says the 4 kings captured all the possessions of Sodom and Gomorrah, all their food and equipment, and went on their way. Verse 12. It says they captured Lot, Abraham's nephew, who was living in Sodom at the time, taking everything that he owned with them. A fugitive came and reported to Abram the Hebrew. Abram was living, blah, 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 blah. 14. Please move quickly, I don't have time. When Abram heard that his nephew had been taken prisoner, he lined up his servants, all of them, born in his household. There were 318 of them. He took all his servants and packed all his trained servants, and they went and chased after the captors all the way to Dan. Abram and his men split into small groups and attacked by night. They chased them as far as 16. They recovered all the plunder along with his nephew Lot and his possessions, including the women and the people. Do you know that after I even rescued him, we shall self-punishment. I don't know. I don't think, you have to be a very peaceful person, a very loving, and usually phlegmatics will do anything for their family. If you are their person, they usually have your back. He still, after everything, after all the misbehaving and the misbehavior of his nephew, he still went after him to rescue him, still put himself in harm's way to rescue him. So they can be very peaceful, very, 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 very dependable. Another thing about them is that they can be very patient. Abraham waited 25 years for the promise of God. How many living human beings, if how many human beings, dead or alive, can do that? 25 years. Do you know what it means for God to tell you you are unlimited? And it takes 25 years for you to prosper, to be unlimited. Because the average human being, if you get a word, if by October it's not looking like, won't you start threatening God? Abraham gave God glory, even when he had not seen it. So usually they are very patient. They can stick things through. Usually a phlegmatic is the least likely to resign from an office. If they work in a place, they can die there. Usually it's death that will take them out of an organization. So when you have people who have stayed a long time, they don't mind. They will be there. Even if they are promoting other people ahead of them, they are okay. As far as they have that job security and they wake up every morning and do the same thing, they are okay. Okay? Another thing, one of the major things about them is that they are very fearful and self-preserving. A phlegmatic will lie if they are afraid. A phlegmatic, of all the temperaments, phlegmatics are the most likely to lie. Sanguines lie because they want to exaggerate and look good. Phlegmatics lie out of fear. So a phlegmatic would lie to you if he feels his life is in danger, even if he puts your own life at risk. So Abraham knew that King Abimelech might kill him. He told his wife, please, when we get there, because of how beautiful you are, they might kill me to take you. So please tell them that you are my sister. And Sarah lied for him, and they took her. And it didn't bother him. It was God that said, what kind of human being is this one? If I leave him, it will be okay. Let me go and fight for him since I'm in covenant with him. I went to threaten Abimelech. Left to him. They've collected his wife. It's okay. So they usually are very self-preserving. If this room is about to fall, this roof is about to fall, if a phlegmatic sees that it's about to fall, he won't raise alarm. You just look for the safest corner and go and stay. And be looking and be wondering, hey, will this thing fall? Will this thing not fall? But if I raise alarm, what if it doesn't fall? Will people... Choleric will find a way to move everybody out. So, usually, they're very, very self-preserving. Okay, so let's move to the melancholy because I don't have so much time. So, the melancholies. So, last week, everyone said I was choleric. Maybe after reading these ones, maybe you will know what my real temperament is. Okay. So the melancholics like organizing things in a certain way. Things must be done in a proper order. They like lists. They like charts. They like facts. They are quiet. They are not flashy. They are very private people. They're not quick to allow people into their space. Now, I remember when I first got married to Pastor K, and I came, and I joined, because I wasn't a member of DCC before I got married. So I was imported. That's what they called me that time. They said I was imported. So I was imported from another church into this church. So when I came, I didn't know anyone. So I didn't have any friends in DCC. I didn't know anybody at all. The only person I knew was Pastor K and Pastor P. But I wasn't really close to Pastor P at the time, but he was Pastor K's associate. So he was more, welcoming of me, because obviously they had been praying for wife. So he just felt, thank God. Somebody, I don't think that's what he felt, but let me not add. I wanted to add now. So when I came in, immediately after service, I would come in for service and I would sit at the back. After a while, after Pastor K complained, I started sitting in front. So I would sit in front, and after the service, immediately after the service, I would walk outside and enter the car and lock the door. I won't talk to anybody. I won't greet anybody. I won't say anything to anybody. Pastor K come and knock at the window. What are you doing here? I say, let everybody serve God and go home now. What? He say, no, you are their mama. Come out, greet people. And it was the most stressful period of my life. Because I will not come outside and people will not come. And because melancholies are naturally suspicious people, it takes them a long time to warm up to people. When they do, they're usually very loyal people, but it takes a long time. Usually if you there's a way you greet a melancholy, they think you want something. So there's this particular girl then, anytime she sees me, oh, indomitable mama, mama of life, mama of all mamas. Anytime that girl greets me, that girl is to annoy me. So immediately she comes like, I'll just frown my face. What can you say? They're trying to greet you smile. I say, which kind? This girl, there's something she's looking for. Which one is indomitable mama? Where does she know me from? So it took me it took a lot of stretching for me to allow people into my space. Even now, it's God that is helping all of us. All of us know now. It's God that's helping us. Pastor is covering for me. Because it's not natural for a melancholy to be warm to people. Not that they are not warm. If anything, melancholies are very compassionate people in their hearts. But usually, it doesn't show on the outside. They usually look very stern, very moody. They have very low lows. They can be very depressed easily. Melancholies can be so depressed. They are very artistic, very musical. They have an eye for solving problems. So a melancholy gets into the room and he already knows, he can scan and see, these are the problems here, and already start calculating what will we do to solve the problem. They may not be very good at getting everybody to do it, but they already know what the possible problems are and how to solve it. They're not risk takers at all. So all those things that, that's why I say I always tell people that I don't know how Pascal and I are surviving in marriage because we're complete opposites. So he's very adventurous. I'm not at all. At all. An adventure for me is getting on a power bike. Yes. I'm not adventurous at all. So everything I do is by the Spirit of God and because of love. Praise God. Let me just let that one sink in. They're usually very sensitive people. They look, as in literally, they look at people's face. There are some temperaments like that don't look at your face. They notice if something is wrong with people. They are usually the first that can tell that, this person has a problem. Usually a sanguine say, hey, we're all playing. How do you say this? A melancholy can pick up people in the room who maybe are unhappy, or if you say something, or if the mood in the room changes, a melancholy is the first person to pick it up. So if something has been said, a sanguine can just talk and somebody's upset in the group and they won't even notice. The melancholy already knows that this person didn't find this thing funny. And the sanguine is like, the choleric is what's my business? If you didn't find it funny, But a melancholy usually would notice that this person, there's a problem here. They're the ones that are very artistic. Of all the temperaments, the most gifted. So they're the most creative. So they're the ones that give us music. They're the ones that give us art. They're the ones that sing, write music. So, and they're also they're perfectionists. So if something is not absolutely perfect, it seriously disturbs a melancholy. Once I got on stage and they did that thing, I kept talking to myself. Priya was at the back doing me like this. I kept talking to myself. I said, no, they can't spoil this day for me. No, they can't do this. I was already shutting down because they made that mistake last week. And they made it again this week. And I'm just thinking, it's not rocket science. So sometimes what makes them seem like they're very hard, and what I think people mistake for choleric in my life, which I claim that choleric in Jesus' name, safe. What people mistake as choleric is my perfectionist tendency. The fact that if something is not 110%, I don't want it. It has to be perfect or nothing. Okay, so they're usually like that. They're very purposeful. They are planners. They are very idealistic. In their minds, this world is a perfect world. In their minds, everything is black or white. And unfortunately, in this life, especially in this Nigeria, there are a lot of grays. A lot. So melancholies are usually very unhappy and very depressed. And if they have an opportunity, they will run to Canada. So I give you an example of something that happened with a friend of ours who is a very strong male. So, it's wrong to drive one way in Nigeria, right? Do you know? It's against the law. I know because they parked tankers on the road, so you just blow one way. It's against the law. So one day he was driving on the road, and Lasma was doing one way. In case you are not aware, LASMA is the one who is supposed to be keeping traffic laws. They were driving one way. Everybody in Nigeria knows that Nigeria is somehow. If they are driving one way, what do? You give them space and squeeze in the remaining road and be going. Because Nigerians are largely phlegmatics. So we adapt. Even when something is bad, we just adapt. We'll manage it, then we'll start cracking jokes on social media about it and start doing skits. But we'll just adjust. And so they were driving and coming, and everybody was giving them chance to drive their one way. He went and blocked them. I came down from the car and was shouting, why are you doing one way? This is the problem of this nation. You are son. He was preaching sermon. They told him, Oga, move out of the way. He said, no, you can't. Can you do this in America? Can you do this? Oga, move out of the way. They told him, oh. They told him, and he used 60,000 naira to go and get his car out. So they believe everything is either white or black. And you are dealing with human beings. Human beings are never white or black. Never. Melancholies are usually shocked by the depth of deceit in human beings. Everything is shocking them. Like, hey, why are people like this? Why can't you say this and do this? But human beings are not like that. So even God himself said the heart of man is desperately wicked. So why are you shocked? Melancholies are generally like that. They believe that it is either this right or wrong. But they are middles, you know? And usually they're the ones that when they give a law, they will keep it to the last, you know. Some of their strengths is that they're very analytical, so they love facts. Like I said, it helps them in problem solving. They work well alone. So they don't need to have a lot of people on their teams to get things done. They're usually like one-man army. They are planners. They're usually very, very organized. I don't know if you know people that if maybe they arrange a place and maybe arrange a room and you move something and they walk into that room, they will know something has changed about this room. They're usually the melancholies. When I was single, I was living with my cousin in Port Harcourt. And my cousin is a sanguine. A terrible sanguine. In fact, I don't think he has a secondary temperament. A complete... I didn't know it was God preparing me for my marriage. That my cousin used to frustrate my life. So I had the privilege of doing up his house. It was his house, but I was living with him. So he just gave me money. I said, go and arrange the whole house. So I now arranged and color-coded every room. Every room had this color code. So the bathroom, one of the bathrooms was the green bathroom. One of them was the peach bathroom. That thing was frustrating him. He didn't say anything. But it means that everything in the bathroom is either white or peach or white or green. If you bring anything else, there's a way, it just disturbs my spirit. I don't know are there males here? Are there people that are feeling me? How can you, something is arranged. Why can't you just continue it the way it is? My cousin will come back. I don't know whether he's doing it on purpose. He will just come back with a blue bucket and come and put it in the peach bathroom. Then go and bring the green tissue from the green bathroom and put it in the peach. I'm like, as in, how hard can it be? And then he will come back from work, from the entrance. How now? He will remove his jacket, he'll throw it. Today was hard, he will throw it. And throw everything. And then the next morning, he'll say he's looking for his socks. Of course you are looking for your socks. Because if you had come back, removed your jacket, and you had hung it, and you had folded your socks and kept it somewhere, or thrown it in the dirty clothes basket, you won't look for it. So it can be very, very, very frustrating. And he, on the other hand, used to call me freak show. Because he couldn't understand how somebody says, so has this place arranged? You do okay? Yes. I couldn't understand what he was going on about. But that's how melancholics can be. They are very, 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 very organized. Very organized. They're also deep thinkers. They love artistic beauty, and they follow through. So if they make up their minds to do something, they like the process. They enjoy the process. One of their biggest fears, in fact, they have 3 major fears. They're afraid of taking risks. They're afraid of making wrong decisions. And they're afraid of being seen as incompetent. Those 3 things a melancholy does not want. That's why they plan their lives to the T. So they wake up in the morning, they have to-do lists. Usually, a melancholy wakes up at the same time every day. Whether or not, I don't even know if is this something we should clap about? So whether or not I have something to do, 4:30 a.m., my eyes are open every day. I'm like an alarm. Even if I go back to sleep, that 4:30. And it started before I even got married. So melancholics can be like that. They like a structured life. So they plan everything to the T. Some of the things they struggle with is perfectionism. See, usually to keep them from doing anything if conditions are not perfect. So yesterday, Pascal said something and he resonated with me. You know when I was preaching and I said I can't marry somebody who I'm planning to. I don't know how many of you heard that message. Yes, melancholics are like that. They want everything to be perfect for them to move. And life is never like that. I remember when before I had my kids, I used to run a kids shop. I don't know how many people remember it. And I remember that before I opened that store, I wanted everything. I had a picture in my head how I wanted everything to be. So every day I would go there and I would say, oh, I don't like this painting. They should bring it down. I don't like the way this shelf is. It's not exactly straight. Pascal would say, hey, this shelf is straight. So I would say, look at it very well. They should go and bring ruler, whatever, that plumb line and measure it. And maybe it will be off by maybe 2 or 3 centimeters. But I mean, other people can live with it, but it was just disturbing me. And then the colors, I wanted everything to be perfect. So every day, Pascal would ask me, when are you opening? Because I had my goods. I had traveled and bought things, and I just locked it up there because I wasn't satisfied with the shop. I wasn't satisfied with it. He kept asking me, when are you going to start this thing? And I kept waiting for the perfect time. Like I needed everything to be perfect and all that. One day, I just saw flyer. Pascal had printed flyer. Shop open. And the truth is, I'm sure that if not for him today, we'll still be planning to open that shop. So you see, I'm enough planning to for myself. I don't need another planning to. So they usually have the issue of if something's not perfect, they can't deal with it. They tend to be loners. They feel, usually in a group, they will feel alienated. They feel like everybody has someone, everybody knows someone. They start feeling sorry for themselves. They throw a lot of pity parties. Another thing is that they're very hard to please because they're perfectionists. There's nothing you can do that will be perfect. I'm not sure which. Okay, I think it was Writers Inc. My youngest sister used to write scripts for drama. So every time they would bring drama, then I used to be pastor in charge of Soul Impact. So every time they would bring a script, I would say the script is not good. Take it back. They will take it back. So one day I overheard them saying that, and anything, the first thing you bring to Pastor M, she can never accept it. So just don't bother. Just know that. So just bring anyone. Then maybe 2 or 3 later, she will now take it. And I'm like, really? I never saw that. But I observed that it's probably true. And the reason why is because I think that every time you go back, you can actually do it better. It's never perfect the first time. But it can be a problem because it makes it very hard for people to please you. No matter what they bring, you can never be satisfied with it. So no matter people go and design things and come out not looking. Like, no, this thing is not going to work. You know, and it can be very discouraging, especially if somebody has put everything into it. They're very hard on themselves. Now, I'm going to use this to teach on this particular character that we picked for melancholy. Moses in the Bible was very, very melancholy. He exhibited a lot of melancholic tendencies. First of all, he was very detailed. So he was so detailed that God could trust him with writing the first 5 books of the Bible. Even when he wasn't there, God trusted him to be able to be so detailed enough to take down the best notes. Melancholists usually have the best notes in school. They write everything that the lecturer said. So if you can borrow their notes or steal it, you'll pass your exam. So he was very detailed. Even though he wasn't there when the world was created, he was able to write Genesis. And I'm sure he wrote it accurately because God allowed it to be put in the Bible. Okay? Another thing is that they can have unreasonable. They're usually very hot-tempered. Very, very hot-tempered people. And usually it comes out as violence. So usually melancholy is not just the kind of person that will use their words. They will most likely use their fists as well. And they're usually very unreasonable in their anger. So you can't really get a melancholy to listen to you when they're angry. No, it's very hard to get them to do that. I'll give you an example. Moses went up to the mountain, and he was on the mountain for 40 days and 40 nights, collecting the 10 commandments. And as he was coming down, he heard music and celebration, and he was wondering what was going on. And then he saw his brother Aaron, who he had put in charge, had collected gold from everyone and had built an idol for them to worship, and people were worshiping the idol. Moses was so angry. Any other temperament? Something you stayed 40 days and 40 nights up on top of a mountain to go and collect to write. Any other temperament will say, please, hold it. Or put it down and then fight. But he broke the 10 commandments. So usually they are most likely kind of people that they will cut their nose to spite their face. If they're angry with you and they want to display now, they can disgrace themselves and you. That's how a male is. Even though they're usually very private people and they don't like embarrassment. But if they're angry, they don't see reason, and it's a big issue. In fact, they lose out on a lot. Moses was so angry that God told him to speak to the rock. He struck the rock twice, and he lost out on the promised land. That was the thing that made him not cross into the promised land. After you have endured facing Pharaoh, you have endured these Israelites that God himself wanted to kill. After you have suffered and gone through the wilderness, and because of their murmuring and grumbling, they had extended a journey that should have been how many days, turned it into years, and after suffering all of that, you allowed them make you so angry that you disobey God. And that's just how melancholists can be. When they're angry, nothing else seems to matter in the world. It seems like the world is going to end, okay? So he missed out because he struck the rock. Another thing about melancholy is that they are very bad at delegating. Very bad. And the reason is simple. Because they are perfectionists, they don't believe someone else can do it as well as they can. So instead of them to let you do it and mess it up, they would rather stay there and do it by themselves, even if it means that they are wearing themselves out. Moses was judging the people of Israel day in, day out. From morning till night, he would sit there and they would gather. And they would tell them his problem and he would tell them solutions. And he was there every day, and he was wearing himself out. And people had to stay on long lines. So your case may not be heard this year. If you are number 400, there's no way they will hear your case in 2019 because there are 365 days, and he was probably answering one person because he will listen to the counsel. Then he will give advice. Then he will quote from the law. Then, because it's very detailed, he will now take you process by... So, of course, he was frustrating everybody and destroying his own health. His father-in-law, Jethro, had to tell him that this thing you are doing is bad. It's not good for you, and it's not good for the people. So usually they're like that. They will not delegate. One of the most difficult things to do, and it's one of the things that the melancholists need the most. You need to delegate. You need to give other people a chance. Even if they make the mistake, use the opportunity to train them. They're one of their major weaknesses, and that's the thing I noticed the most about Moses. Is the fact that they are usually very self-critical, they are pessimists, and they are usually very negative. If there's going to be a problem, even there's no problem, a melancholy will still see the negative side of any situation. They can't see the good in anything. And they are usually hardest on themselves. They don't judge themselves more harshly than they even do other people. I'll now show you Exodus 3 from verse 11. At this point, Moses had gone into the wilderness, and in fact, another thing is they hate injustice. Melancholists hate injustice. So when Moses heard that he found out he was an Israelite, and he saw the Egyptian beating a slave, what did he do? He was so angry, he killed. He didn't even say, stop it, what are you doing? I'm the king's son, don't do this. He killed this person and buried him. That's how much rage, they can have. Okay, so at this point, he had now escaped because Pharaoh was after him after he had killed the Egyptian. And he had gone into the wilderness, and then God had called him towards the burning bush. And so when he got there, God had said he wanted to use him. And then Moses answered God. Remember, they're very critical of themselves. Moses answered God, but why me? What makes you think that I could ever go to Pharaoh and lead the children of Israel out of Egypt? And God, and I'll be with you. God, can you give me an NLT? Give me an NLT. Was it an NLT we read? Give me an NLT or something else. Okay. And God answered, I will be with you, and this is your sign that I am the one who has sent you. When you have brought the people out of Egypt, you will worship God at this very mountain. Next verse. But Moses protested. If I go to the people of Israel and I tell them, the God of your ancestors has sent me to you, they will ask me, what is his name? Then what should I tell? How are you sure they will ask you? Why don't you just think that when you get there, they will believe you? So if they can, even if there's no problem, they will find a problem. 14. But God replied to Moses, I am who I say I am. Say this to the people of Israel. I am has sent me to you. And God started telling him a lot of things that he was going to do. Jump to Exodus 4. God started telling him all the mighty things he would do. I will back you up. I'm going to destroy Pharaoh. Said a lot of things he was going to do. Verse 1. After everything that God had said, I mean a lot of verses after. But Moses protested again. What if they won't believe me or listen to me? What if they say the Lord never appeared to you? How can you be in people's mind? How do you know what they are thinking? So melancholies are usually the ones that have the, people will look at me somehow. People are not looking at you somehow because they have their own issues. Verse 2. Then the Lord asked him, what is that in your hand? He said, a shepherd's staff. And God now started doing other things. Drop it, became a snake, put his hand in his bosom, God kept talking to him. Jump to verse 10. After all the signs that God had shown him, God tried to encourage him. He wasn't encouraged. God now gave him miraculous signs. Now showed him, I'm giving you power. I'm going to do a lot of things, and I'm backing you up. Verse 10. He says, but Moses pleaded with the Lord, O Lord, I'm not very good with words. I never have been, and I'm not now. Even though you have spoken to me, I get tongue-tied, and my words get tangled. Verse 11. Then the Lord asked Moses, who makes a person's mouth? Who decides whether people speak or do not speak, hear or do not hear, see or do not see? Is it not I, the Lord? Verse 12. He says, now go, I will be with you as you speak, and I will instruct you in what to say. But Moses again pleaded. He said, okay, God, I've heard all these things. Last, send another person. Next verse. And he says, then the Lord became angry with Moses. All right, he said, what about your brother Aaron the Levite? I know he speaks well. And look, he's on his way to me. So God was saying, I already see that Aaron, I didn't make a mistake. I'm picking you because I know you can do it. The funny thing is that after he made all these arguments and God said, okay, you don't want to do it, I'm going to send somebody else. When they now got to Pharaoh, he didn't allow Aaron to speak once. And I suspect it's because he thinks that Aaron will not be able to do this thing well. So he won't delegate. He still got there and said, let me be the one to still say it. So melancholics can be like that. And another terrible trait about melancholics, melancholics have a martyr attitude, okay? So they have this... I'm suffering for everybody. They like to carry people on their head. They like to carry other people's issues on their head. You know, I like to suffer themselves. They don't feel okay if they are not suffering. Like that counseling people from morning to night. You could have gotten somebody else. And I'm sure they were telling him, rest. Now, Moses, you're tired. You say, no, we'll rest when we get to heaven. All those kind of behavior. Those that are close to me, no. We'll rest when we get to heaven. And then the final thing about melancholics is that is very, very bad. Is that they can be very revengeful. A melancholy finds it very hard to forgive. So if you offend a melancholy, trust me, if they are not spirit controlled, even if they tell you it's okay, they will revenge. And the melancholy will never do you back immediately because they know revenge is best served cold. So they will take their time and plan. So a melancholy is usually not the kind of person you want to be your enemy. That's a warning. I'm joking. I'm very spirit controlled now. That's my story and I'm sticking to it. So now, one of the things I need to say, I'm going to reiterate it again. There is no bad temperament. All the temperaments have their positives. All the temperaments have their weaknesses. And the key to solving the problem of temperaments is the Holy Spirit. Once the Holy Spirit comes into your life, He completely transforms you. Can you give me the fruit of the Spirit? Galatians 5. He completely transforms you. And the interesting thing is that everything that a particular temperament lacks, they can find in the fruits. So whatever it is that is a weakness for you, God has already made provision for you with what he sends through the Holy Spirit. So you cannot be successful as a Christian or as a human being or exhibit the nature and character of God if you do not have the Holy Spirit or the fruit of the Spirit. It says, but the fruit of the Spirit is what? Who needs that the most of all temperament? Cholerics. Cholerics need love. Sometimes even the phlegmatics, they can be very unemotional. They can just be there. They can't even. Next one. Who needs joy? Melancholies. Because they can be depressed. They have mood swings. They can be very sad. Who needs peace? Who needs peace? Who needs peace? No, you have to decide. I can't hear you. There are two major temperaments that need peace. Melancholy and phlegmatic. Phlegmatics are very fearful people. I'm not just talking about peace as in being at peace with other people, but peace in their hearts. They need the peace of God because they can worry, they can be afraid, and usually things are never as bad. But the truth is that every human being needs peace, right? So I guess all temperaments can take that. Long-suffering. Who is the most impatient temperament? Cholerics. Cholerics are not long-suffering at all. So basically, whatever it is that you need is found in love. And love is broken down in 1 Corinthians 13. So you need some temperaments need extra doses of patience. Some need kindness. Some need long-suffering. Okay? Some need to not keep any record of wrong. Melancholies. So God puts everything that you need in the Holy Spirit and it's birthed through you. So one of the things I really want us to do this evening is I want us to pray. Because every temperament has its weakness. And I don't want a situation where you go, because you've heard all of these things, and then someone offends you, for instance, you're a melancholy, you say, that's how we are, we don't forgive. We don't forgive. And it's my natural born temperament, so it's nothing, I'm not even doing it. It's not my fault. It's how God made me. It's not true. It's not true. So we're going to pray this evening. You're going to pray that every fruit of the Spirit will become exhibited in you. You have the nature of God, the character of God. Can we rise up to our feet this evening?